Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I am Shivam from Team ZapScale, and I love hosting these webinars for you every month in which we discuss various topics around customer success. Um, in the previous webinar, we talked about how ZapScale harnesses AI and I'm sorry, real-time data to provide CS teams with a 360-degree view of each customer. It was a fun webinar, and we had such great conversations with our attendees. I'll leave a link to that in the chat box soon. But today we are presenting how ZapScale tracks deep customer health for CS teams. Now, customer health is a metric that is so crucial for CS teams, whether you want to predict which customers will grow, which will churn out, whether you want to understand your customers' needs and improve your products. It's so very crucial. And that is why we have an expert with us, Kundan, who is a retention specialist at ZapScale and who will decode how ZapScale calculates customer health with its pre-built health score framework and helps to identify potential risks and opportunities within your customer base. If you have any questions in between the webinar, please feel free to type them into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel. I'll bring them up at the end when we have the Q&A round. Also, since this is a short 30-minute webinar, in case we miss answering any questions, don't worry, we'll get back to you with a response through email. Now, I'll let Kundan take the center stage. Over to you, Kundan.
Thanks, Shivam, for the nice introduction. And you're absolutely correct. There's a lot of talk around customer health. Why is it needed? Is it just to predict churn? Is it to help in my retention? Can it help with my adoption? How can customer health be used to predict churn and so on? But yeah, it's all of that is true. It can help in your retention. It can help in increasing your NRR. It can help in predicting churn. How health scores can help predict churn and how we do it, that's a topic for a separate webinar altogether. But let us try to simplify this today a little bit. What do we need customer health for? In a typical CS organizations, a CSM is responsible for multiple customers, but the time is limited. Typically, we have seen that in a B2B SaaS organization, a CSM handles anywhere between 20 to 200 customers, depending on the ticket size of the product that you're selling. If your customers need a high touch, if your customers are good with a low touch, if it's a self-serve product or not, the number of customers that a CSM handles varies. But even if it is the bare minimum, even if it is just 20 customers, let's say, that you're looking at, you do not have enough time to actually touch base with each of your customers on a daily basis. And even if you do, it's not enough, or you don't have enough time to actually drill down to each and every single issue that they have and try to find out the whole story of the customer. So the question is, how do you prioritize which customers do you need to focus on? Since your time is limited, let's say you're handling 100 customers, you cannot, solve for all 100 customers in a week. You would have to prioritize, let's say, 10 or 20 customers that needs your help the most, that makes most sense for you to spend time in, keeping in mind, of course, the revenue perspectives, that which customers can give me a better expansion revenue, which customers are definitely worth retaining, which customers are very close to churn and I would not want to lose them. So that is essentially where customer health scoring comes in. Customer health scoring helps prioritize your work as a CSM, which is which customers do I need to focus on? What do I need to solve for them to make their lives better? Whether that's from an adoption perspective, retention perspective, churn perspective, that's completely based on your business needs. But customer health scoring is the one single score for a customer, which will tell you in your entire portfolio of customers, which customers do you need to focus on and spend time on right now at this moment, today, this week, and so on. So still, we prioritize our work daily. We prioritize, try to prioritize customers on a daily basis. Yet health scoring is one major section or one major place where CSMs have seeked help over the years. If you look at the state of customer success report 2022, there was a question which was what will be enhanced by implementing CS automation. Majority of the respondents chose customer health checks. So if we are trying to do it in our own way every day, if it's such an intrinsic part of being in the customer success team, prioritizing customers, prioritizing my work, why is it that still that's one of the major aspects that needs being solved for? We tried to dig deep. In the last year, we have spoken to over 500 CS professionals, CS leaders, CSMs, and so on. And here's what we found: we found that building a health score when you are growing your CS organization, building a health score system for your customers that you can trust in the long run is a lot of work. And there are typically two things which hinders us from creating a robust customer health, which can give us the correct prioritization, which we can trust in the long run. These are the problems. One is that a customer, if you've seen our last webinar, you would know that a customer basically leaves behind breadcrumbs of their satisfaction or dissatisfaction across multiple touch points that they have with your business. They use your product, so there is a usage aspect to it. They're deriving value for their business from their product, so there's a value or outcome part of it. They raise tickets with you through your support team, through a support tool. They would make feature requests or customization requests with you. They would be paying against the invoices that you raise. They would also be communicating with you over multiple channels like email, Slack, intercom. If we do not take into account all these aspects when we are building a health score, the health score would not be, 360-degree. It would not be foolproof. And that's where most of us get stuck. We majorly look at primary aspects like how are they doing on the product, or let's say how are they doing with respect to support tickets. Are they raising a lot of ticket? If not, they're doing okay. Are they using the product regularly? If they're using it, they're okay. But tell me, how many times has it happened that your customer has been using your product till the last day, till before you get to know that they're moving to another business? Or a customer has not raised any support ticket at all, but there has been a time when they have, come and told you that they would want to move on. These happen because you are not looking at the entire picture. You are not being able to understand the gaps that the customer probably has communicated with you through some other touch point that they have. But since you're not looking at them, since that is not a part of the health score, you fail to, arrive at a place where you are prioritizing this customer over the others. The second problem that we see is that when we are creating a health score, we are majorly dependent on our experiences. We don't have a guidebook as such that what should be the best way of creating KPIs for, let's say, HR tech business, or let's say logistics business. So we are mostly dependent on our experience, and we end up making rules which are based on conjecture and which are a little less scientific. Look at this example. Let's say you've created a rule like if a customer is raising less than 5 tickets a week, they're good, they're doing okay. If a customer is raising between 5 and 10 tickets a week, they're somewhere in between. They have a risk of becoming a poor customer, but they're not very poor. But if there's a customer who's raising more than 10 tickets a week, they're definitely in a bad shape, and I would need to prioritize. Now, this is a very simple KPI logic. Most of us have used some kind of a logic like this in our life when we are, trying to understand how my customer is doing. But I can tell you for sure that this is not something which is going to give you great results. Let us look at these two problems one by one in details to understand why or what the problems are with these two aspects. Firstly, we said that we failed to look at all the touch points that the customer has with your business. So imagine we are looking at a few customers and we are trying to determine which customer is doing good, which customer is not doing good. And we are just looking at, let's say, is their product usage good? And is there any dissatisfaction that we can sense from the number of tickets that they're raising with us day on day, week on week? If these are the only two parameters that we're looking at, which we all mostly do, we can see that this customer is doing pretty good. They don't have any problem with the product usage, they don't have any problem with the ticketing. Customer number two has a little bit of problem with product usage, it's not doing good, but they don't have any problem with ticketing. So this customer would be somewhere in between, as compared to customer three, who is not using the product very well, and there are clear signs of dissatisfaction that we can sense from the tickets that they're raising. But is this enough to give you the complete picture? Is this color coding of the customer enough? Is this customer, the third customer, the bottommost customer, the customer that you need to prioritize first than number two and number one? The answer is we are not sure, because it is possible that a customer has very good product usage and there is no dissatisfaction from tickets, but they can still be in a place where their entire objective, business objective, is not being solved through the products. So probably they have a lot of feature requests which they have made from you and which are open, which we have not been able to deliver. And probably if the customer does not find these solutions with your business, they would move ahead to another competing business. But we would not know that in this health scoring, since we are not looking at the number of features that this customer is requesting. It is possible that they're doing good in product, they don't have any tickets, but they have a pending invoice. However, the current health scoring system that we have set up, which is just looking at product and tickets, does not consider the payments. So we are not actually sure if this customer is really the green customer, or should I need to focus on this guy. We are not considering if this customer is in touch with us or if this customer is cold on the comms front. It is possible that they're using the product well, they are not raising any tickets. But if they're also not communicating with you, are you sure that this customer is really engaged with you as a business and would continue to be your customer in the long run, would continue to expand their business revenue with you? You're not. Which is why, if you're not considering all the aspects where the customer has a touch point with you or your business, and we are creating a health score out of a few aspects and trying to prioritize our work based on that, it's just increasing our work. We are probably focusing on the wrong customer, whereas we needed to focus on someone else. The second example that we looked at was of conjecture based health KPI. So the example that we looked at was, if a customer is logging less than 5 tickets, they're doing good. Between 5 and 10, they're yellow. More than 10, they're red, which is they're doing bad. Looks pretty good. But let us inspect this a little bit more. Let's take a situation where we have two customers, customer A and customer B. Customer A has logged 4 tickets with you. In the same time period, which is let's say a week, customer B has raised 12 tickets with you. Let us apply this KPI rule that you had made based on your conjecture. Makes sense. Customer A has raised less than 5 tickets, should be the more healthy customer. Customer B has raised more than 10 tickets, should be the unhealthy customer. This customer should be the customer that you should be focusing on. But does this KPI or does this data set that we are seeing on the screen right now tell us the entire story? Probably not. Let us understand the problem a little bit deeper. When does a customer raise tickets with you? When they have some problem in using the product that you have sold to them. That's majorly the place where a customer would come and raise a ticket with you. So, along with the number of tickets logged, let us also consider a usage parameter. Like these tickets which have been logged in a week, this has come against how many hours of usage. How much usage has customer A put in? How much usage has customer B put in, against which, they have been forced to raise these many tickets with you? And when we look at this data, we see that customer A has actually raised 4 tickets with you by just using the product for 2 hours last week, which means that if we bring it down to unit hour usage per hour, customer A has used your product, they have raised 2 tickets with you. Whereas customer B has raised 12 tickets, but they have used the product much, much more. They have used your product for 24 hours. Now compare the number of tickets that these customers have raised per hour. Customer B has only raised half a ticket per hour. Customer A has raised 4 times that, 2 tickets per hour. So now, when we look at the deeper picture, you are sure that customer A is the customer that you might want to focus on, because per unit hour of usage, every time they're trying to go and use the product, every hour they're using the product, they're raising 2 tickets. Whereas compare that with customer B, they're raising 4 times lesser tickets per hour of usage as compared to customer A. So the moment you look into the problem a little bit deeper, the conjecture based health KPI or the indicator that we had made does not really hold ground any longer. Also, let's try to remember the reason why we were creating the customer health scores. It is to prioritize. Now imagine your rule is still the same. Any customer logging greater than 10 tickets in a week is my red customer. And imagine there has been a time where there is a known downturn that has happened on your product. And most of your customers have raised a lot of tickets on your platform. And you are only considering ticketing as one of the parameters which is building the health score. You're not considering, let's say, feature request tickets and payments and product and so on. In that week, all of your customers would show up as red customers, right? So again, you're back to the problem. You created health KPIs, you created a health score, but your problem of prioritizing the customers have not been solved because you are still looking at all your customers in red. You don't know which customer needs your help more. You don't know how to effectively use your time better to improve the NRR of your business. So, having said that, let us look at how can ZapScale do something different, or what would be the best way to solve for these two problems that we just looked at. So, we had discussed in our last in our last webinar how ZapScale consolidates data of the customer. So there are three key things which ZapScale does. It consolidates all the data of a customer and brings it to one place. The data which you otherwise have to request from the product team, from the support team, from the finance team, from, let's say, you'll have to pick up from your comms tool, from your CRM. We integrate with all these sources, with your product, with your ticketing tool, with your feature request tool, with your billing tool, with your comms tools, with your CRM. And we bring around 150 data points together in one place so that you don't need to spend time looking at multiple sources to understand the customer story. What we do beyond that is we use these data points to build a deep health score, which helps you prioritize customers. And that is what we have been talking about today. And we are going to deep dive on a little bit more also going forward. The third thing that ZapScale does is, on top of the health score, ZapScale keeps an eye on each of the health parameters for each of your customers. And whenever something goes wrong, it automatically alerts your teams, the customer success team, or any other internal team that needs to work on the customer to improve the situation. So, since we are discussing about the health, let us look at how does ZapScale build the health a little differently. What have we learned from all these discussions that we have had, and from the past, experiences that we have had in B2B SaaS startups? So, how ZapScale differs is that ZapScale has 40 out of the box KPIs which are pre-built, and that completely automates the customer health creation, which otherwise takes anywhere between 3 to 6 months from any for any B2B SaaS organization who are starting out to formalize the customer health score. And these 40 pre-built KPIs come to life the moment you integrate your sources. Integration with the 6 sources that we spoke about: your product, your ticketing tool, your feature request tool, your payments tool, your billing and invoicing tool, your CRM. All of these takes roughly about 2 to 3 hours. It can be completed in one day. It's just an API level integration. The moment you do these integrations, you see a deep health score for each of your customers, which helps you prioritize your customers. And all of the health scores that we built in ZapScale are percentile ranked, which means that if you're handling 100 customers, you choose that how much time do I have in a week to solve for customers. If I have X number of hours, how many customers can I actually effectively work on? Let's say you find out that in a week, it's best that I focus on 10 customers at a time. So you can select your health scoring in such a way that always your bottom 10 percentile, which means 10 out of your 100 customers who are doing the worst or who needs your help the most, are highlighted to you, so that you can prioritize them, so that you can solve for them. Let's quickly go and look at how this looks like in the ZapScale product. The moment your sources are integrated, this is what your customers would look like on your ZapScale. Imagine with me for a second that Paytm, Tesla, Google, Zoom, Panasonic, HubSpot, these beautiful companies are your customers. And for each customer, you would be able to see how important they are, how much of ACV they have with you currently in your current contract, how far away they are from your annual renewal, which is a very important, very important data point to track for any customer success manager. How does this customer stand with respect to their churn probability, which is derived from how their health scores are moving? It's a topic for a different webinar altogether. Let me know if you want me to deep dive on that. Would love to do that. But right beside the core details of the customer, you see a ZAP score. This ZAP score is the overall health of the customer at the given time range. So you can choose the time range that you want to look at. If it's a kind of product which is being used daily, a customer success manager might want to look at the health movement of the customers daily. What we have seen being the most popular view for the CSMs who are working on ZapScale is the weekly view, or the management can choose to look at a monthly aggregation, quarterly or yearly aggregation as well. But let's say we have selected a weekly view. The ZAP scores that we see and the trend lines that we see easily tells us that what is the direction of movement of this customer. Is it towards an improving trend, or is it in a declining trend? At the same point of time, since all the health scores are in percentile rank, we can very easily, just by looking at these two columns, know that which customers are doing good. Like Paytm, Tesla are doing pretty good. Tesla is my most successful customer this week. And I can also understand which customers do I need to focus on. I know Google is not doing good, their score is dipping. So this is the customer that I would need to focus on. The next two customers that I would need to focus on after I've, solved for Zoom is Panasonic, and after I've solved for Google, I'm sorry, is Panasonic and Zoom, because their health scores are not in red, but they're not absolutely good as well. So the default setup that we have in ZapScale is that we show the bottom 10 percentile of your customers, anyone whose rank is between 1 to 10 in red. The next 20 percentile, which is 11 to 30, we would show in amber or yellow, and the rest of them we would show in green, that you don't need to worry about them right now. There might be some problems, of course, you would be notified about them, you would be solving about them, but if you have to prioritize, pick up a customer, solve for them, ensure that they stay with you, they don't churn out, these are the customers that you would need to focus on, the ones in red, the ones in amber. The overall health score that you see in ZapScale, by the way, is not made of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 KPIs. It is made up of 40 pre-built KPIs, majorly from these headers. We look at the user's health. How are the individual users within the customer doing? Are they all healthy or are some of them in poor health? We look at the product usage health of a customer. How are they using your product? Are they spending time on your product? Are they adopting the key features that you want them to adopt? Are they deriving value from your product, which you can set up in ZapScale? These all come with your product integration, which is very simple to do with with a product analytics tool that you use. If you're using something like a mixed panel segment, we can integrate with them. Otherwise, you can always integrate directly with the tracker code of ZapScale plugged into your product. Apart from that, we built the ticketing health score, which usually tells you that how the customer is satisfied or dissatisfied with your product, your services, and so on, based on how frequently you're raising tickets, how frequently, how many high priority tickets the customer is raising, how many tickets are getting resolved, how many users are logging tickets. These data points usually come from a ticketing tool integration or a support tool integration, tools like Freshdesk, Zendesk, Zohodesk, HubSpot, Salesforce, Cloud, and so on. Then we look at the feature health. Are these customers asking for a lot of features, which means that beyond what your product is solving, is their use case wider? If their use case is wider, how are you supporting that? Are you delivering the features? If you're not delivering the features, if their use case is very wide, it is likely that they might be looking at other competing solutions as well. Then we look at the billing health. This feature health usually comes from a feature request tool like a Jira or a ServiceNow. Anything that you use, we can integrate with that. Uh, Billing score tells you how your customer has been performing against the invoices that are raised towards them. Are they paying you on time in full every time? Is there any pending invoices? Is there any pending payment? Is there any overdue? This comes from a billing tool integration, something like a Stripe, ChargeBee, Zoho Books, Zoho subscriptions. Then finally, your com score tells you if your customer is communicating with you, or when was the last time your customer communicated. Is the customer cold or not? Coming from integration with communication tools like email, with Slack, with Intercom. And there is a place where your customer success personnel who's handling this account, let's say I'm the CSM of Paytm, and I think they're doing okay, not very good, they're somewhat at a 60%, I can key in my gut feel score, that beyond all the scores which are being calculated through the integrations, through the data points that are coming in using the 40 pre-built KPIs, this is the score that I would want to ascribe to this customer. And all of these are considered in a weightage that you choose to build up the overall health score of a particular customer. So it's not just that by looking at the health scores, you can prioritize your customers, that I need to work on Google. You can also deep dive into the problem that you would be solving for Google. Their problem is 2 out of the 3 users that they have on your platform are not accessing your tool, are not using your product well. And their overall product usage has seen a dip. The other problem that we see is that they are not communicating with us, which means that probably the driver, or the POC, the champion, the influencer that we had probably is not very active anymore. Probably it is new people who are working on the product. And this is something that you would need to look at. Then if I look at Panasonic, I know that their score is going down, and the problems that I need to deep dive on is I need to look at their tickets and their feature requests. Their ticketing score is doing really bad. It is probably because recently they have raised a lot of tickets, a lot of which would be high priority or which have not been solved yet, which are open with us. So I need to work with my support team and fix for that. And there probably are a few feature requests that they have put in, which I would need to, check with my dev team and get back to them, or probably look at fast tracking them for a better health of Panasonic. So I don't just understand which customers do I need to work on. I also know that what aspect of this customer would I need to work on. How does all this data get populated? It it's fairly simple. Settings is the place from where we integrate all the products. SaaS app is your product. That is the first level of integration, which is very simple to do by just putting in these two lines of tracker code into your product. Very similar to a website tracker like a Google Analytics, very simple to JavaScripts. Uh, Takes anywhere between 30 minutes to 1 hour for your one of your tech team members to insert into your product front end. The moment they do this, anyone from the CS team has the liberty to set up the key events or the key features that they want to track. They can launch an editor. What this will do is it will open up your product into which your tech team has put in the tracker code. Imagine with me for a second that ZapScale ELM is your product. And in that, there are multiple workflows, but one of the key workflows that is done in your product is people come and apply for a leave. Imagine you're an HR tech and you want to see per customer, per user, how many people are actually doing this workflow. All you can do is using this editor that you have, you can just create a new event, click on this target icon, drop a pin on the apply button, which is the final action that a user would do to complete the application workflow. And name this. Let's say we name this apply leaf. That's it. This becomes a feature which is now tagged in your product, and you will get to see per customer, per user if this is being used or not. The moment you do this, there are these pre-built KPIs from ZapScale which get switched on. So from each section, from each integration, there are pre-built KPIs. So from product integration, what we track by default is how much time is the customer spending on the product, how many pages are they visiting on the product. Of course, the customer who's spending more time on the product is getting more value, is more successful, is more aligned to your product. The customer who's using more pages on your product is more aligned. The customer who's using more of the features, the key features that you've tagged on your product, is more aligned, needs less attention. Beyond these pre-built KPIs, you always have a choice to set up more custom KPIs, very very intrinsic to your business. Let's say you are a logistic business, you would want to see if a customer is increasing their order share with me, and that is a key KPI that you would want to track. Just add a custom KPI, name your KPI, and you can choose to pass this data through us in any format. Like you can just upload a CSV, you can tell us to pick it up from your CRM, or you can write an API and send this data to us. So beyond the custom KPIs, you can add more KPIs, which will build your health more and more robust. Beyond the 40 pre-built KPIs, let's say you make 10 more KPIs. Now each of your customers would be scored based on all 50 KPIs which are working on them. So any prediction or any alert or any bad health signals that you get would become even more robust than the 40 KPIs that you have. For each KPI, or even for the header, which is product usage, how is product usage going to affect your overall health, you can choose a weightage. How should customers who have a less or poor product usage show up on your screen? How many customers or what percentage or percentile of customers should show up as red? What percentage or percentile of customers should show up as green? You can customize it completely. The same thing you can do for all the sub KPIs as well. Choose the weightage, choose the color coding range. If you don't want a KPI, switch it off. If you want more KPIs, add custom KPIs. So you can do all of these to, make your health scoring even more robust. This is your product. Beyond your product, you can integrate with your other tools like your CRM. These are the integrations that we have. Your ticketing tools, these are the integrations that we have. We have covered these in details in a previous webinar. If you've not had a look, we would share the link. You can have a look at that. These are the feature tools that we integrate with. It's each of these integrations are very simple. All we need is just the API key of the app that you use. For example, you use a Zoho Books. We just need an API key. You plug in the API key, and the systems are integrated. Comms systems. If you're using multiple comms tools, like I'm using Mailbox as well as Slack, I can integrate multiple channels. And the moment these integrations are done, there are these pre-built KPIs that are set up. Like from ticketing, we track how many tickets are logged per hour of usage, how many tickets are getting resolved, how many tickets were P1, how many users are logging tickets. Beyond that, you can add more custom KPIs, just like I showed you in the SaaS app section. You can add a custom KPI and choose to send that data to us, either pick it up from the support tool itself, or I'll upload a CSV, or I'll write a API, I'm sorry. And you can make KPIs like, is my tickets SLA being met? How many of the tickets which are closed are getting reopened for this customer? How many tickets that this customer has raised is still remaining unassigned? So you can create any KPIs that you want. You can change the weightages. There are these pre-built KPIs already which are scoring your customers, which is eventually giving you a health score like this, with which you can very easily prioritize which customers do I need to work on and what do I need to solve. For example, I know that Google's product usage is a problem. Now, I can even drill down into Google and I can go to look at how is their product usage trending week on week. I can see that it used to be good a couple of weeks back, but now it has fallen and it has plateaued. I can also choose to drill down into the health KPIs and see what is the problem. Usage KPIs is what we are talking about. Usage score is fairly low. That's because it's being made up of these three KPIs. The lowest or the worst KPI is their feature usage. Their pages visited is also not doing good. The time that they're spending on the product is doing somewhat okay. I can click on a KPI to actually inspect the numbers also in details, not just the percentile or the rank. And I can see that this customer, Google, has spent 26 minutes on my product last week. Per unit user, they have spent 9 minutes. Now, since we have brought it down to a unit user, we can now compare this with any similar customer, irrespective of how many users does the other customer have. So I can compare it with a customer who has 100 users on your product. We can compare it with a customer who has just one user on the product, since we are calculating it on the unit user time spent. Compare this with other customers, you see that they are standing at the 36th percentile, which is not too good. Same with pages visited. I can look at the code numbers, features used. I can look at the code numbers. Like I wanted them to use 12 key features on the product, but they're just using two. Last week, they have just used two. Compared with other customers, they are the absolute worst. They're using the least number of key features in my product, at least last week. I can also drill down and see that what are the features that they have used and what are the features that they are not adopting at all, or they had adopted but the usage has fallen going forward. I can compare it with a different time range and see where does this stand. So by the way, in our last webinar on integrations and data consolidation, we have discussed in details about how all the raw data which is coming from your product, your ticketing tool, your billing tool, how it all shows up in one place. But for today, let us focus on the health scores itself. So yeah, we had identified that Google had a problem with usage. I went down to the usage KPIs. I saw exactly where the problem is there, and I also saw the raw data, that what features they're using, what features they're not using. Now I am more aware and I'm more contexted towards, out of all my customers, which customer do I need to focus on? For this customer, what do I need to solve? And what exactly is the issue in product usage that I would need to solve for? Similarly, if I see that the problem with Panasonic is tickets, I can go inside Panasonic and see exactly what is going wrong with their ticketing score. They have used your product last week for 6 hours. Against that, they have raised 8 tickets. Compare this with other customers, they have raised the most tickets per unit hour of usage. What about the resolution of the tickets? They had raised 8 tickets. However, only three of them have been resolved from our end. Five are still open. Compare this with other customers. The Google Panasonic has the most number of open tickets right now compared to any other customer. How about the number of high priority tickets that they're raising? They had raised 8 tickets. We know that. However, all 8 of these tickets have been high priority. So 100% of the tickets that they have raised last week are high priority. Compare this with other customers, they are doing the absolute worst. No other customer has raised all high priority tickets last week. The percentage of high priority tickets has been lower for the other customer. Let's look at the number of users logging tickets. Are all the users who are using your tool finding it problematic, or is it just few of them? Out of 3 users that Google has on your product, one of them have been raising the tickets. So 33% of the user base is affected, because of which they are having to reach out to support very frequently. Compare this with other customers, they stand at a 20th percentile, not doing too good, at a risk of, at a risk of becoming poor. Similarly, you can check out all other scores here as well. So this is essentially what ZapScale does. ZapScale brings in all the data in one place, builds a robust health score which is 40 KPI deep, on top of which you are free to add more KPIs which are very, very specific to your business, which tells you if your customers are deriving value from your product or not. How this helps you is that anytime you come to ZapScale, you know which are the customers that you would need to focus on. You know what are the aspects of this customer that you would need to focus on. And this not just saves you a lot of time to just collate the data and get to creating a health score, but also, a lot of time in terms of analyzing the data, understanding who needs to be worked on and what aspect needs to be worked on. So that's essentially what I wanted to show you in the product. Uh, ZapScale recently has been rated for the greatest ease of use and quality support and ease of setup by our customers. In fact, in fall, we received all these 3 badges from G2, which is a great news because the customers who are using us are liking the direction and are liking the kind of health scoring that we are being able to help them with. Also helping them with a lot of time that they are saving efficiently uh, by not spending it on analyzing and collating data, but on solving for the right customers, right problems. These are the tools that we integrate with. We have discussed this in great details in our previous webinar. In the next webinar, we are going to discuss about how these data which are coming in and the health scores that are being built can be used to automate a lot of your CS ops. And if you have any further questions, you would want to deep dive on the health scores, and you would want to look into the math of how these health scores are being calculated. If you have any perspective of how we can improve, or if you want a tool for your own organization, please feel free to just ping me up on WhatsApp, write a mail to me, or we can chat up on a Zoom call anytime you need.
Yeah, uh, that was a great presentation, Kundan. Sorry, we've exceeded the time, so I'm only going to take 2 questions. The first one is, can I send health alerts to the internal Slack channel?
To your internal Slack channels?
Yes.
Absolutely. Thanks for this question, Shivam. Thanks for bringing this up. This is actually something that we had planned to cover in our next webinar, which is around collaboration and CS ops. But a couple of things. Any point of time you see that there's a problem with any particular customer's particular section, you can click on it and choose to raise a task or message and add your internal team members. So anyone whom I add to a task or a message gets to see the entire context of it, so that they can go ahead and help you solve for it. There is no limitation to the number of seats you can have on ZapScale. So feel free to raise, issues to your management, to different team members like sales teams, tech team, and so on. What we also do is through our playbooks we automate a lot of this collaboration. Whenever we see that a problem has occurred, we automatically send out emails and Slack notifications to different team members. And the Slack integration that we saw essentially works in 2 ways. We can pick up customer communications from different customer Slack channels and tell you if they're communicating or not. We can also integrate with your internal Slack so that the notifications of poor health of customers, whether that is related to usage or you need to work on a renewal or a QBR, these can be pushed to individual members of your team in the Slack channels. So yeah, the simple answer is yes, we do send notifications to Slack channels.
Awesome. One last question I'm going to take, which is, what do you consider in comms health?
Okay, so when we are talking about comms health, we are not going into the sentiment analysis of the communication or the quality of the communication. We are looking at the quantity and frequency of the communication. So, if a customer is communicating with you regularly and has communicated with you very frequently, they will have a higher com score. If a customer has not spoken to you for a few days and is not communicating with you very frequently, would have a lower com score. So if you look at the com KPIs inside any customer, uh, let's say Google itself, what we look at is the email communication frequency. And in the last 100 days, how many times have you had a conversation with this customer over email, Slack, or any other comms tool of your choice? So essentially, it is telling you whether the customer is warm or cold. So if you have to solve for any problem, or if you want to expand the revenue with the customer, or if any problem occurs, then how likely are you to go ahead and solve it? Are they communicating with you or are they not? That's essentially what we're looking at.
Okay, I hope that answers the question. I think we're going to close the session now. If you want to connect with Kundan and get more details on ZapScale, I have given his LinkedIn and his calendar link in the chat. Please feel free to reach out to Kundan. Kundan, do you have any last words to say before we end
No,
the session?
well, thanks for hosting this webinar. Thanks everyone for joining. If you have any suggestions on in terms of what you would want to learn more on about ZapScale as a product, which we can cover in the next webinar, please feel free to reach out to us.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being with us. I know we exceeded the time a little bit, but we'll see you in our next webinar.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye
Shivam.
bye.
Bye-bye.